All right, how's everyone doing? I'm Rich CELENZA. Thanks for checking out the Rich CELENZA show. WTF are you talking about? So what I want to get in today on the show is what I would call good days, bad days, good months, bad months, good years, bad years. And I say that all the time because I want people to acknowledge that. I don't care who you are in your life. You need to acknowledge that you're going to be going through that in your life. You know, a lot of times when things are going good, most of the time you don't even you understand it, but you don't appreciate it, is what I should say. But when things go bad, you let it destroy you or let it really grasp onto you. And I get it. It's hard when things go bad, right? And what's that famous Marine guy I listened to? I forgot his name. But his theory is when something bad happens, it's actually good. And I know that sounds crazy. I don't want to speak for him, but basically in a nutshell is that's when you learn who you are and how to get through certain things. If things always went great in your life, right, which would be wonderful, but that's not how life is. So the truth is you're going to run into many obstacles, and a lot of things that are going to come into your life are going to hurt you. It could be financially, it could be physically, it could be emotionally, it could be all these different type of things. How you handle that is basically who you are. And I always said, when you are backed against the wall, that's really who you are. You know, when you see somebody who's really in a position where things aren't going their way and how they pull themselves out of it. I remember even Giuliani when on 9/11, when all that was going down and the way he handled himself, I thought was incredible. And I'm not saying this because I have nothing to do with politics. I'm not saying this because it's a political type of thing. It's not. I'm just saying the way I kind of saw somebody handle certain things, all these lieutenants, generals, all these military men, I have the highest respect for them, even cops, firemen, those guys, incredible. And I always said about them, you want to talk about good days and bad days. So most of us live in a world where we don't have to deal with a lot of bad, right? And a lot of bad, and I don't mean bad in the sense where things are horrific all the time, but if you took cops, say firemen, a lot of times even military, but let's just throw in cops. I used to not like cops for many, many years. As I got older, I found out what an asshole I was and the respect I have for them now. But every time, for the most part, not every time, most of the time when they get a call, it's bad news. How do they handle that bad news, right? What are they stepping into? And a lot of times they don't even know what landmines they're going to be stepping into. You know, they don't know any, even though they're getting a call to say, hey, go here to do this, go do that, or this is happening, they have no idea how that's going to turn out, right? That's pretty scary stuff. Same with a fire. You know, a lot of times I see firemen, and a lot of times they're not fires, but when these fires are certain, when you have life and death situations, that's unbelievable. I mean, and when things go bad, can you emotionally, can you kind of put yourself in their shoes? So my ex-brother-in-law is a fireman chief, and I have another cousin that is married to a fireman, and I think he's now becoming a chief. And it amazes me because, like, what they go through and what they don't even really get too in depth in it, but I just can only imagine all the, you know, the gratitude that they get when something goes right, but all of the baggage and how they feel emotional when things go wrong right in front of them. I'm not sure if they blame themselves sometimes or just not being there or not being able to help. They wish they could, because those dudes, in my eyes, are angels. When you're really put in a situation where you're always putting your health, not only your worth or yourself in front of others, like you want to make sure they're taking care of. That's an unbelievable gift. Because I always say it's easy to hurt anybody, and I go for and say you could go stab anybody. How easy is that? But for a doctor, how hard is it to become a surgeon with a knife? So to help people or, you know, do anything like that, and bringing up doctors again, unbelievable. Again, here's the thing too. If they have a good day, right, or even a nurse, a good day would be somebody's getting, you know, a lot, they're dealing with sickness, which is its own thing, which is unbelievable if you ask me, how people deal with sickness through day in and day out. My buddy's a nurse. He talks about different things he goes through, people that he loses, all these different things. But when they have a good day, wonderful. Somebody feels better. They check out of the hospital. They come in. They recover. Blah, blah, blah. But a lot of times people come in, they die. They're dying. All these different types of things. It just goes wrong. And I think a lot of times it's like a cliche, but you got to enjoy every day of your health. Without your health, you're a piece of shit. You've got to start learning to pay attention to what your body is saying to you. It is always talking to your mind. You're just kind of neglecting it, right? You only really get one body. This is a shell. You're not escaping it. You can't jump in yours and going to another. Not right now. Maybe in the future you might be able to with science and all that. But right now, what is that? Warren Buffett that said you take care of yourself. You get one car. Like if I gave you one car at 16 years old and said, hey, you're going to be driving this car for the rest of your life, you better take care of it. Most people will take care of it because this is all you're getting. But for some reason, when it comes to their body, they think they should just basically physically abuse it. And there's not going to be any repercussion, which is ridiculous. But back to the good day, bad day type situation. I even say you have good minutes and bad minutes. I used to play sports all the time, and you have good quarters, bad quarters. You have good games, bad games. We get it, right? But kind of like what the Navy SEAL guy says, when things go bad, and it is so hard to start programming your brain that's a good thing. Good is expected a lot of times, and it's just coming. Because most of the time we live in a country where a lot of things are happening really good. We just take everything for granted. We go to a restaurant, we eat, someone serves us food we like. We get in a car, we get to go wherever we like. We have the freedom to say a lot of things that we want to say. We get to do a lot of things we want to do. If we don't do them, it's on us. It's basically we're lazy, or you're just not doing it, it's on you. That's all on you. But a lot of times when things go bad, and sometimes it does. Sometimes you make a lot of moves. They were bad in hindsight. You wish you didn't do them. But a lot of bad comes into your life that's very unexpected. And you're going to have to deal with it. You cannot control that. You can control yourself to say, hey, if I'm going to drive 150 miles down an expressway and start running in the car, drive like a lunatic, not expecting to get in a car accident, that's ridiculous. Something bad's going to happen maybe. Obviously you're putting yourself in a position for things to happen that are bad. But a lot of times you may be just driving the speed limit and someone comes and T-bones you. Now you can't control, again, anything outside 3-4 feet of you. You can't control what others a lot of times are going to do to you. You're not going to control what a lot of people are going to say to you. All those type of things. You need to become resilient. If you're not resilient, you're not going to survive. Or you may survive. You're going to emotionally allow yourself to be badgered, but you've got to learn how to step up and become, really thick-skinned. You really have to learn that. I really believe that. And I get that a lot of times we're sensitive, especially when you're dealing with death, obviously. That's really hard to handle when you're losing the ones you love or you're going through illness. And I get all that. I mean, I don't talk about it a lot, but my two daughters, I had one that had a liver transplant. My other daughter has diabetes 1. It's brutal. And the funny thing is, I don't want to feel sorry for my daughters, because the minute I don't want them to ever feel sorry for themselves. I want them to know, and I always did, I will never treat them differently. I don't care what they're going through. And a lot of people used to be like, especially with my oldest daughter who had a liver transplant, I would never stop whatever she wanted to do. Everyone's like, oh, you got to keep her away from people, her immune system, this, that. Nope. We're at parks all the time. We live in Orlando, Florida. We're going to parks. We're flying everywhere. We're doing whatever we want to do. Sports. Oh, my God. I let her play every sport, including football, lacrosse, soccer, swim. You name it, she's done it, except softball. I could go on and on and on. She loves sports. She's at the gym all the time. I am not going to treat her any differently. And here's the thing. Back to your good days, bad days. Good months, bad months. It's like a car accident. The first car accident I got in, I remember when I was younger, I was 16. Just got my license. I was going to play tennis with my buddy. And Joe Miller, he was a really nice black kid, actually. We were in a bad area, kind of, I think. And me and him were driving through Chicago, and somebody just turned right in front of me. The light turned yellow. I was going. I by far had the right. She pulled right in front of me, and I nailed her. My head, we weren't wearing seatbelts back then. My head hit the windshield. And I was stunned. She got out. It was raining out really bad, which really sucked. Had to run to a payphone. I remember when I felt bad. I didn't know if my buddy Joe got hurt. To make a long story short, she got out. It was a little Asian girl. Felt bad. She's like, today's the first day I drove by myself. I just got my license yesterday. I thought you were going to stop. It's my fault. I'm sorry. I really felt bad for her. I just want to make sure she was okay. I called my mom. Mom, blah, blah, blah. And this is the old days. Cell phones, nothing. Had to get the police there, fill out a police report. I think they ticketed the poor girl. I didn't want her to get a ticket. They did. At least she was honest about the situation. So my mom, I thought was going to, she came, I think, maybe with my stepdad. And my mother's like a kind of a kick-it-in-the-ass type person. Even though she's very, on one end, she's very religious and always afraid of things. Then other times she wants to kick you in the ass. So I think my stepfather and my mother was there. So I'm thinking she's going to drive me home. And she goes, get in the car. With the windshield split and everything. I said, what are you talking about? Drive me home. I'm scared. I literally said, I don't think I could drive today. And, a lot of times people will be like, I can't drive. She's like, shut up, get in the car. You're driving. This is not going to stop you from driving. It's also not going to stop you from really this is going to happen in your life. You're going to really run into these type of situations, and you have to move forward. And I think my mother being divorced at a young age, having a child, me, and then seeing what her mother went through, and a lot of family members having immigrant grandparents raise her, there's sometimes a time, don't get me wrong, to be patient and kind of weed through certain things and give yourself time. But in this case, I think what she did, in my case, was right. Because I don't know how, I think the longer it would have went, the more afraid I would have been, to really drive. I drove home then. And then it was almost like my mind clicked. I knew I was in an accident, but I had no problem going back in the car the next day. I didn't sleep with all the fear or give myself a few days or a week to say, man, I can't drive, I can't, like that. And being scared. No, I drove home. It wasn't my fault. And she explained that to me, even if it was your fault. But you have to move on. So when you do have that, you're gonna have relatively bad days, then you're gonna have horrific days. Right? And sometimes, which just sounds crazy, you may have a horrific day intertwined with an amazing day, or a horrific day that can go real south. I'll just give you a real quick thing that I went through once with my daughter having the liver transplant, and I very seldom talk about this, but I just feel like talking about it today, and I don't give a fuck, whatever. My daughter, we prepped her. We lived in Florida. We had a flyer. They said, okay, we have a liver. We had to fly. She had a fast. She couldn't eat after midnight, and then we had to get on we had to take a flight. We had to fly all the way to Chicago. Now she's starving. Or the next day, we prep her for surgery. She hasn't eaten in whatever. By this time, it's 4 or 5 o'clock. And, we didn't want to wake her up. She actually went to bed, and we couldn't feed her, actually, because when we got the call, it was very late at night. Now, she's screaming. She's starving. She don't know why we're not feeding her. She's almost 1 year old. They prep her for surgery and everything, and we're thinking, this is going to be a great day. She's going to get a liver transplant, but we're still scared. Who knows how that's going to turn out? We prep her and everything, and they reject the liver. The doctor said the liver was too fatty. So it went from kind of scary to thinking, what now? It went from kind of, we're thinking amazing, we're finally getting through this because we were on a list. This goes back to the late 90s. Like, now what? Now it's horrific. Now I have to fly back to Florida. And after that, actually, we decided just to move to Chicago through the whole process, which may or may not have been a good idea, even though our doctors and everybody was there. But it was very cold, and she never really did that good in physical cold weather. In hindsight, I would have probably just stayed in Florida, went back and forth. But we moved there officially, but not yet. So we had to fly all the way back. Now, I don't know how many weeks it was. Now we're waiting in anticipation. Now we get the call again. And now we're really kind of scared because, this may happen again. We're running out of time. Her jaundice levels were very high. She's getting close to brain damage. All of this, and I'm not saying this because it worked out wonderfully, but to make a long story short, it's shocking. And it's really scary. And it's almost like it's not just a bad day, it's a bad month. It's a bad time, but because you have no control over what's going on. I'm not a surgeon. I'm not a donor. They didn't want to take, I had another child on the way. They wouldn't take part of my liver because if something happened with me and my ex-wife had a baby, the whole process would have been they wanted to get a full liver or a partial liver from someone else. I'm not going to get into that. to make a long story short, we got the call, we went in, and she ended up having a liver transplant. Unbelievable day. Everything went incredibly well. But while she's there, out of nowhere, she catches RSV and rotavirus. So she's in the hospital 2 months, very sick after the transplant. So again, good, bad, good day, bad day. Like, all these things are happening. How do you handle them? How you handle a lot of things in life is, one is, a lot of times we make it about us when it's not about us. It was about my daughter. And I think a lot of people throw themselves in, like, look at me, can you believe? And I get sometimes you need attention, or you may need, to be, it's not being humble, it's just people saying, giving you, whatever it is that you need at that point in time. But you got to understand, a lot of times your misery, or when things are going bad, it's not just about you. Other people are affected, obviously, right? I had my ex-wife who's pregnant 9 months with another baby, about to have another baby, and she has a daughter. But, like, how am I supposed to handle this? So I tried to do the best I could. I had to step almost outside myself. And what was amazing, after everything was said and done, our babies, if I fast forwarded like a year, I remember looking at pictures, and somebody had a picture of my that time frame. They just took one out of nowhere. I almost had a breakdown. It all collapsed on me that weekend. It was like it all hit me then. When I was in it, I didn't realize it. It was like I was so deep in the shit, they say you don't realize how bad it stinks. That's what I felt like. Because when I was in the hospital with my daughter, literally almost 2 months straight, I went from like 240 pounds to I think 199 pounds. All my clothes were falling off. They thought I was getting very sick. And I never get sick. Very seldom ever. The very last couple days, I got very sick. And that was the last time I was really sick. And I had to go stay at my mother's because both of my daughters had to go home to the new place we had. And I lost so much weight. And my beard was so long that when I walked up to go home, my ex-wife didn't even recognize me. Like, that's how much weight I lost, like, even through that whole process. And the beard, and she didn't even recognize me. It was pretty amazing. And but to make a long story short, that's just one thing. But again, you may not go through that with children. You may not have to go through that with parents. But I'm going to tell you, most likely, and I talked about this at a previous podcast, you are not going to go unscathed. If you want to live a long life, right, which a lot of people do, you're going to see a lot of death. You're going to see a lot of illness. And death is hunting you, right? Nobody dodges death. And I'd hate to say it that way. But we're intelligent enough to know we're going to die. When we're going to die, a lot of times, we have no idea. But most likely, you are going to die of a few different things. Obviously, it could be catastrophic, hypothetically, or a car crash or something like that. You could die from a disease. You could die in your sleep. There's many different ways. But my point is, it's coming, right? You don't know when it's coming. You're going to have to live through that. And you're also, a lot of times, especially if you live long, you're going to have to live through that happening to other people as well, right? Also, with all different types of events, including your family members, friends, colleagues, that goes for divorces, including maybe your own. It can include people getting hurt. It could be fires, shootings, all different types of things, right? It's going to be coming people's way. You got to really learn. It's not about you. And try as much as possible, I believe, to be there for people. That doesn't mean you have to be a pain in the ass and go over the top or all these different things. Just let them know, if you love them, you're there for them. A lot of times, all you need is someone in your corner, and it doesn't take a ton. My mom always says, if you have one good friend in your life, you got a treasure, right? I believe that. A lot of times, and I realize this, I can't say this, when my daughter was in the hospital, I actually had to shut it down because we had too many people coming, and I have a massive family. They were wonderful. They had a huge benefit for my daughter. It was amazing. But a lot of times with people, I said, when you go to a hospital, personally, go to the hospital, see who shows. A lot of times, those are your true friends, and obviously your family members or whoever shows. Now, that doesn't mean that people are in other states or aren't busy that don't love you. Let's not get ridiculous. What I'm saying, though, a lot of times is pay attention to who's really there when you need them, and that doesn't mean financially either. or any of those. Like, what are they really willing to offer and to help you in a time of need? Now, that doesn't mean that if you're broke, people should give you money, or you're doing this, because a lot of people deserve to be in bad situations because of a lot of decisions they made. So you can't sit around and feel sorry for everybody either. But there's a difference between, good people, right? You probably know a lot of really good people, and bad things have happened to them, and they need to know that you're there for them. Same with you. Again, I don't care if you're a billionaire. I don't care if you're in poverty. We all need people in our lives. And I'm a guy who's always kind of by myself because I travel so much, and then I'm with a lot of family. So my life has always been extremes, and it's still extreme because I was raised as an only child, bouncing between my mother and father. And then I was around a massive amounts of cousins and relatives, family members. It's really very similar to my life now with work, and even in my relationship to a certain degree. I'm there and I'm not there. I'm very comfortable being that way. But you need to realize you are going to always, I don't care again who you are, I don't care if you're a celebrity or a nobody, you're going to have good days, good months, bad months, good years, bad years. Try to fight that as much as possible, but no one is perfect, all right? Don't forget that. And if you keep continuously, and I said a lot of times, having, to go through a lot of bad events, it could be because of your decisions. A lot of decisions we make are bad decisions, and we keep making them over and over again. I keep seeing a lot of people do that, especially in relationships. They keep either dating the wrong person or chasing the wrong type of woman, and vice versa. Women, again, getting involved with the wrong type of man, or getting, again, the same type of man, or in the same environments, making the same decisions. You just got to really smarten up and start educating yourself to quit putting yourself in a bad position. You want to start learning to put yourself in the right place at the right time. And how that usually starts is very small. It's little increments, I tell people. It's not huge, because there's no way you're going to go from shitty to immediately, oh my God, I'm kicking it in the ass. Sometimes that may happen. Don't get me wrong. But in life, usually things do take time. If your job sucks, it's most likely going to take you time to find a better job. Or I don't even care if you say, hey, it's time I start my own business. Wonderful. That doesn't take like 3 days. You think you build a website and all of a sudden you're in business. These things take time, because even if you know the business, you got to build up a base. You need to build a client. You got to find customers or whatever you plan on doing. That all usually takes time. Have patience with yourself. Don't beat the shit out of yourself, man. Even when things go wrong. And I get it. Sometimes we're looking at ourselves like, I am an asshole. Why would I do that again? Did I not learn? Well, whatever you did, accept it. You did it because you wanted to do it, right? And if you keep hurting yourself, and it could be even physically, I'm saying, alcohol, drugs, whatever. If you keep doing that, there's something inside of you. Holy shit, a truck just flipped. Unbelievable. I'm driving actually in the car through South Dakota in really bad weather. Holy cow, a huge truck, 18-wheeler. Crazy, it's real bad weather here. Hopefully the audio isn't too bad. But anyways, I do them in the car. I talk about this all the time because I have a clear mind when I'm driving. It's just like, it really works well for me. If I lay on a bed or I go I'm kind of, my head's not whatever. I'm just really focused. But don't beat yourself up, and, have some patience too for other people that have addiction issues. For most of my life that I've dealt with alcoholics, drug addicts, tons of them in my family. And I mean a lot of them. I was raised in a nightclub business, so I saw friends. I'm not saying I've seen it all, but I've been around it for a long time. And I used to have zero patience for it. But as I'm getting older, I feel just really bad for those people, and I'm learning to be more patient with them. It's easy for a lot of people to say they don't know what, they need to learn this, or that's who they are, or they're never going to learn, or it's never going to change. I think a lot of people that are alcoholics and drug addicts, or whatever their issues are, any addictions, a lot of them aren't happy necessarily, having that addiction, but they don't know how to stop it. And there's something that's in their brain or inside their shell, I call it, inside their body, that makes them keep doing that. I don't know why. Some people are athletes that want to, like, I was obsessed with health and fitness and always that aspect of it. I was fortunate. But I also, on the same hand, I started to lift weights. I became obsessed with getting bigger and bigger. And before you know it, I took something healthy. And I really made it unhealthy because of my own insecurities. So, I think a lot of times, too, with drugs or alcohol or whatever addictions, sometimes, it usually doesn't go. Sometimes it does from 0 to 100, almost like smoking cigarettes. A lot of people I know that smoke hate that they smoke. And it wasn't like they picked up a cigarette, smoked once, and then they were at a pack a day. It progressed into something. But to make a long story short, back to the good days, bad days. I don't want to get into all that type of stuff. Be patient with yourself, please. And when you do go through the good, appreciate the good. A lot of times if you're at a family doing or something went well at work or you had a great meal or your kids do something exceptional or even mediocre. Even when my kids used to lose in sports, because I was a sore loser, I despised losing so bad. I even had my production company's called Sore Losers Productions. I was so nuts about losing. And I spun it around because I realized it emotionally took a toll on me. But even with my daughters, they were sore losers too. But even after they lost, we went out and celebrated after a while. Because we were so mad sometimes from losing, and I didn't verbally abuse my kids or anything. I won't even coach them. But my daughters, as long as I saw them try their hardest, which they did, and at the end, I'm like, what really counted was you fought through this, and you lost. And we're going to celebrate because you're healthy, you got to play the game, right? And that's something to enjoy. You were fortunate enough to be able to do what you did today, which was wonderful. And I realized that, obviously, after having children that have, some type of issues, that everything is worth celebrating. It's not, and I get if you're a professional athlete, I'm crazy. If you're going to play sports professionally, you have to have an edge where you do not want to lose. It can't be like you lose and then all of a sudden you guys are having a party like you won a championship. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about children or just our life in general. Learn to celebrate the little things too, because they're huge. Like a lot of times you may get a cup of coffee throughout the day. That may be the only thing that really makes you happy. Make sure it makes you happy. Don't feel bad because you spent $4 at Starbucks. Who gives a shit? I don't care about the money. It's really what made you happy that day. And the smallest things a lot of times are those things. And don't let the little bullshit things make you crazy. You know what I mean? Because that's what I think happens, that you take something, and back to the law of attraction, they talk about that. You stub your toe and then you're an asshole throughout the day. I get it. This happens, that happens. Well, it becomes a mindset like anything else. Something bad happens, you've got to learn to move forward as quickly as you can. Some things linger on. There's no question about that. But you can't let that shit destroy you. It could be as simple as a paper cut, or like I just said, stubbing your toe, or you may get in a car accident, but hopefully nobody gets hurt, and then it ruins your day, and then it ruins your week, and then it ruins your month. Whatever the case may be, get over it. The quicker you get over it and recover, it's like a wound. And I do that even when I get injured. I hurt myself sometimes weightlifting or scratching or banging myself up, goofing around. Even when I used to wrestle, box, all these things. In my mind, if I hurt myself, I'm like, immediately go on recovery mode. I just put it in my mind, I'm healing, I'm healing, I'm healing. So if something bad goes, if something bad happens to you, address that. I'm not saying to blow it off like it didn't happen either. There's a difference between you getting in a car accident and then pretending it's not there and it's just going to fix itself. No, that's ridiculous. What I'm saying is you have to, if you got in a car accident, it was your fault, you address that. Why was it my fault? Was I driving too fast? Was I not paying attention? I blew it. Big deal. Let's move forward. I'm going to get the car fixed. Don't linger on and be like, oh my God, my insurance is going to skyrocket. Oh my God, what's this person going to think about me? Oh my God, now I got to drop the car off. I can't afford to get a rental car while I drop it off. Oh my God, and you're losing sleep. Hey, move on. It happened. Do the best you can to recover from it. Start taking those steps. So that's just how I try to live my life, I guess, to a certain degree. And believe me, sometimes when things go wrong, I go nuts too. I think everyone does, but try to really limit yourself. But if you have to vent. Don't keep holding shit in. That's another thing. Do not hold all your anger in. A lot of times, I don't care if you got to cry, go in a field and scream, go, start doing things that are physical to release some. You may have a lot of anger built up from your past or whatever it is. Try to really release that. Don't hold that stuff in. All right. Thanks for listening again. I'm going to wrap things up here. So if you get a chance, check out my Mastering Self-Confidence, the blueprint to trying. I'm trying to actually help men find the woman or women of their dreams, even through a bad breakup or divorce. I got a YouTube channel out there. I post a lot of different things on workouts, different locations I'm at. Try to help people travel affordably. I show all different unique places I go to. You're on my podcast, so that's where you're at. And I got a Facebook page as well, if you want to check that out. I usually don't talk about that, but anyways, all right, take care. And if you're traveling, safe travels. And again, good days, bad days, good months, bad months, good years, bad years. Just keep looking forward. Life is not going backwards, all right? What happened in the past, cut those anchors, I call it. If you're dragging anchors, I call it, if you're a ship or on a boat, you can't keep dragging all these, all these different, what was I just talking about? The anchors, yeah. Like, don't let them drag you down. You got to either put them in the boat and keep moving forward or cut them off. Don't let your anger, really ruin your life, all right? All right, take care.